Welcome Dark Warriors, this is Rumen in Love. In this video today, I'm going to be going over everything you need to know about Eileen. All of the information in this video is very new, and testing has been going on for less than a week at the time of making this video. However, all of the information should still be accurate anyway. There are 4 main things that will possess Eileen: getting hit by monsters, getting hit by Henry, being left alone without monsters, and being left alone with monsters. However, all of these values appear to have a threshold. I want to firstly go over being left alone without monsters. Most door transitions without Eileen appears to damage her by around 0.002 points of possession. Max possession is 1.0 by the way. However, the longer Eileen goes without taking damage, then the more rooms you can leave Eileen behind. So let me show what I mean. If I leave Eileen alone in this stairwell in building world, then I probably caused 0.0025 points of possession on average. Keep in mind this value ranges between 0.001 to 0.005. However, if I meet up with Eileen again and just hang out with her for like a minute, then the game will actually allow me to leave Eileen alone in a room without monsters without her taking any damage at all. So the longer Eileen goes without taking damage, the more room transitions you can do without her getting possessed. So if you go through all of Forest World second time without Eileen taking any damage at all and bringing her into every single room with you, then that means during Water Prison World second time, you could probably leave Eileen for over 20 rooms without her gaining any possession at all. How about that? Now I'm going to go over leaving Eileen alone with monsters. All you have to know is that every single monster in the game counts, except for tremors and toadstools. What this means is Eileen will get damaged if she's left alone with any monster in the game, but she can be left alone with tremors and toadstools and be perfectly fine. Leaving Eileen alone with tremors is basically the equivalent of leaving her alone with no monsters at all. However, something interesting is that Eileen does not get damaged when being left alone with monsters if Henry goes back to his room. So let's pretend that while I'm going to my room, I just left Eileen alone with a bunch of twin victims. However, because I went back to my room, it doesn't matter because possession from leaving Eileen alone with monsters only counts when Henry is in the other world. So all this time I'm spending in the room, it's perfectly fine. Eileen is not getting possessed at all. And yeah, and that's really all you need to know about leaving Eileen alone with monsters. Just you know, just never leave her alone with the live monsters, and don't be afraid to go back to your room. And yeah, it's really simple. It's really simple. The possession accumulates per transition Eileen is left alone with a monster. So leaving Eileen alone with a monster for 1 room transition might give her 0.05 points of possession. Leaving her alone for 2 room transitions with the monster might possess her by 0.1 points. 3 room transitions will be 0.15. 4 whole room transitions might cause 0.2 points of possession, and so on and so forth. And that stacks a lot, so never, ever, under any circumstances, leave Eileen alone with a monster. I cannot stress that enough. Unless you're going back to your room. That's perfectly fine. Now for damage taken by enemies. I'm just going to say this right now. This is the most confusing part because no matter how much testing I've done, I can't seem to find a consistent pattern for it. So I'm just going to say that you should always make sure to protect Eileen from enemy damage. However, I will share what I do kind of know, and this might be hard to follow along, but stick with me. There appears to be a hit possession threshold, so to call it. Eileen can take around 12 hits in Subway World and be fine, and only start getting possessed after 13 hits. However, this number appears to be inconsistent. During Forest World, I was not able to hit Eileen at all without her taking damage. However, after 10 room transitions with Eileen, I was able to hit Eileen twice without her taking damage. I want to say the more room transitions Eileen does without taking damage, the more hits she can take without getting cursed, but it appears to be random and RNG based. Sometimes Eileen won't take damage from enemies and sometimes she will. There might be some sort of mechanic around it, but as of right now, I am not completely sure. And the same thing applies to Henry. Sometimes hits done to Eileen by Henry will actually damage Eileen, and sometimes it won't. However, if Henry is locked onto a target, he will never, ever damage Eileen. So if he's not locked onto a target, he might. If he is, he absolutely will not, no matter what, which is pretty convenient. Now for healing Eileen. Every single room transition will heal Eileen very slightly if Eileen did not get hit in the previous room. For example, let's say hypothetically, I were to hit Eileen, I don't know, like 12 times right here, right?
Oh no.
Well, if I go through this door right now, Eileen will gain some possession points, right? However, if I do that again, believe it or not, that door transition right there very minusculely actually healed Eileen very slightly. That is because Eileen didn't get hit during that transition, if that makes sense. So if Eileen's current possession value is 1.0, which is the highest possession value, then going through a door might reduce it to 0.997. However, this value decreases heavily throughout the game. Transitions in Building World and the apartments will barely heal Eileen by 0.001 points of possession. So while it does heal Eileen, it's not really worth trying to heal Eileen via this method, because you're literally going to be going in and out of rooms maybe over 1,000 times, and that is really no fun. The only really useful effect this amount of healing has is that it makes Mothbats an almost complete non-threat to Eileen, since Eileen will always fully heal Mothbat damage from door transitions. That is how little damage Mothbats do to Eileen. Another thing that will technically heal Eileen are holy candles, but they are never worth using on Eileen because all holy candle healage is temporary and it is never permanent under any circumstances. Even if you use the holy candle on Eileen right before the final boss starts, it will not heal Eileen during the battle. That is a myth that just isn't true, unfortunately. So holy candles, never worth using on Eileen. Don't bother. Another thing that technically heals Eileen are Saint Medallions when she spazzes out. But similarly to holy candles, this will only heal her temporarily, and it is completely impossible to heal Eileen using this method. Now for Eileen's weapons. I'm just gonna say this right now. Eileen's best weapon is the chain. It's actually a lot better than the nightstick. The chain can actually finish fallen enemies, and I'm gonna demonstrate that here. Yeah, you see that? You see how Eileen hit the enemy while it was lying down and she killed it? The nightstick cannot do that, and that alone makes the chain a lot better than the nightstick. Not to mention, the nightstick is so short that it is almost completely useless against some enemies. Look at how close Eileen needs to get to the one truth compared to the chain with the nightstick. That is dangerously close. So yeah, just look at the chain. Now one more little tidbit before I end off this video. Not wearing a Saint Medallion around ghosts has the exact opposite effect on Eileen as laying a candle near her. While a candle will temporarily heal Eileen, not wearing a Saint Medallion around ghosts will cause fake possession that will quickly heal once away from ghosts or once a Saint Medallion is worn. So if you don't wear a Saint Medallion around ghosts, there will be a chance that Eileen will look possessed, but in reality be completely fine. And because this is confusing and stress-inducing, it's just a good idea to wear a Saint Medallion around ghosts. And that'll be it with this video. Thank you for watching. I'll see you on the silver lining.